All right. Without any further ado, welcome to the second webinar of NDEAM 2022 in Georgia. If you're on today, you probably saw the email from Joseph, and certainly as you registered to see the banner of all the partners. There are 15 in Georgia. I'm not going to take time to recognize them just today, mostly because we want to get to our lovely panelists and be good listeners and just learn. But we will be honoring and recognizing our partners at the Carter Center event. That is October 27th from 9:30 to noon. There are a few slots left. Please let Joseph know if you want to attend. Just a note, if we don't have any more of the partners or folks who are part of our community of practice able to attend, then we'll open it up. So let Joseph know as soon as possible, or shoot me an email, or let us know in chat. There's Joseph's email as well. Well, I just want to give you a little bit of a challenge today. And some of you have heard me say this, and it's a challenge I give myself. And that is, let's silence the devices, stay off of email. We rarely, as a group of people who care about the disability community, employment and equal access and equity, we rarely get time to just focus on celebrating. And that's what the month is all about. And that's what this panel is about. Amy Price, our consultant with Advancing Employment, is going to help steer this wonderful panel and do all introductions. So Amy, I will turn it over to you. Please all make sure you mute and listen.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Doug, and thanks so much, everybody, for being here. Really excited for this panel. Usually during these webinars, we want everyone to be on camera and participate and all those things, but I actually want to invite those who are not on the panel maybe to turn off your camera for this one so we can really highlight our panelists here. Please, throughout this conversation, please feel free to write in the chat if you have questions. No need to hold back your questions. We'll be monitoring them there. So please, please use that as your opportunity to participate. Let's see. So I want to just, let's see, Teresa, do you mind going off camera, Teresa Hall?
Okay, hang on.
No worries, no worries.
Okay.
Oh, great, thank you. Usually we want to really highlight everyone who's here, but I thought this would be an opportunity just to showcase our panelists. So I'm really excited that I am joined by three people. I'm joined by Ginia Taylor, Jasmine Duffey, and Tawanda Blackwell. These are three people who live in Georgia and who have found different job opportunities here. We really want to highlight each of them for their unique gifts, skills, and talents that they bring. One of the things I'm really excited about this conversation is that these three people live in different parts of the state of Georgia, have different types of jobs, got their jobs in very different ways. And so our hope is that you feel you learn something from their stories and can take it back to either find yourself a job, or if you support people to find jobs, to be able to do that. We're going to be asking all of them some questions, and then also having some opportunities for you to ask them some questions. But like I said, feel free to post anything into the chat during this if you have a specific question or a specific thought around this. So here we have you'll hear things about self-employment. You'll hear things about using customized employment discovery to find jobs. You'll be hearing people who are at small businesses doing advocacy, like I said, entrepreneurship. And so we'll hear from all those, about all those different things. And if there's any any concept that comes up, or they share anything that you're not sure what that means or how that's done, please, like I said, ask it in the chat. But to start us off here, I'm going to ask all of our panelists here to introduce themselves. So Ginia, can we start off with you? And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ginia Taylor. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and I work at Citizen Advocacy of Atlanta and DeKalb. Long name, focused on one-to-one relationships between people with disability labels and people who are living a good life.
Thanks, Ginia. And Jasmine, would you mind introducing yourself and sharing with us about what you do?
My name is Jasmine Duffey. I'm a spoken word artist, audio engineer, producer, and I actually just recently added to my business by creating I started my own DTG printing company. And if it's okay with you, I would like to introduce myself how I normally do, like with some spoken word at some point.
Oh yeah, please go for it, Jasmine.
Okay, so this is normally my introduction. The name of this piece is called Sightless, and it basically tells my story. Okay. Have you ever been laying in the bed and while your body is physically asleep, you kind of wander off into a dream where you really don't want to be? So afraid of what your mind is trying to get you to see, to the point where you're practically fighting with yourself, just begging to be free. Well, tell me that this is just one of those dreams, and that what appears to be reality really isn't what it seems. Because see, me, I'm having a hard time kind of coping with things. Because see, when they first informed me that I would be sightless, in the back of my mind, all I heard them telling me is, Jazz, your life is through. 22 years old, about to graduate from school, and you tell me I'm about to go blind, man, what am I to do? See, all I remember was sitting there thinking to myself what I would have and could have done if ahead of time, Lord, I just would have knew. And they say that life's not fair, it's sad, but it's true, because at such a young age, I was forced to learn the ultimate truth, which is that the only way out was for me to go through. The heartache, the pain, the struggles, the rain, my doubts, my fear, my trials, and these tears. Yes, these tears that I spent many restless nights shedding, thinking that every dream that I wanted to accomplish could no longer be achieved, and everything that I had worked for was done in vain, because without sight, I just couldn't be. Doing what I wanted to do in life was impossible without sight, is what I had actually believed. But see, those thoughts there, those came from the old me. Now me, I'm sightless, and I'm cocky with it. I'm talking swagged out, cane pimp walking with it. Because see, I learned that being vigilant doesn't mean that it's over. You just have to simply learn to adjust. And as you adapt to your surroundings, you'll soon realize that you're no different from the rest. And no offense to the sighted. I mean, I'm not trying to start any mess, but the fact that I can live the exact same life as most of you just slightly boosts my ego. You call it conceited, I prefer blessed. Because me, I'm blinded by ambition, so I never see obstacles. Blinded by ambition, so I never see obstacles. Fighting in my blood, I was born to fight this battle. And anything that objects will be defeated by any means possible. Wait. I need to pause for a minute, because I would like to take this poem biblical if I have your permission. See, if you turn with me in your Bibles to 2 Corinthians 5:7, you too will see that even the Bible tells us to walk by faith and not by sight. So this sight is life that I'm living was designed by Christ. Meaning that despite the fact that I was stripped from my vision, y'all, I still have my hearing, my heart beats in tune, and my brain is still coherent. So why would I give up on life due to a little lack of vision when indeed God blessed me with 4 other senses? Yes, I'm sightless, but I use my hands to feel my way through life and place me exactly where it is I need to be. And I use my ears as inspiration, because I make it my point to prove people wrong when I hear them tell me what it is I can't be. And with my nose, I no longer smell the fear of going through life not being able to see. And with my tongue, I do things like bless this mic and give y'all a taste of what it's like to be me. And in the future, we just happen to cross paths. No, please don't have sympathy for me. Because yes, I'm a sightless individual, but I indeed have more visions than most people that can see. Because see, my light will never be dim. Even in my darkest days, God provides a way for me to always find him. Because yes, I'm sightless, but I'm also resilient. I mean, yeah, I'm sightless, but I'm very persistent. Breaking barriers and changing lives are my only 2 missions. And I promise I won't stop until I make y'all respect my vision. Now, if at any point in this poem, anybody's wondering who that girl up there spitting, just go on Instagram and follow me at Blinded by Ambition. Again, my name is Jasmine Duffey. My artistry name is Ambition. I'm a producer, audio engineer, and as you can see, a spoken word artist. Thank you.
you so much, Jasmine. I know there were some comments in the chat here about just how much they love it and wow and great job, amazing.
Thank you.
So I
Thank
just
you.
want to share the love that's in the chat with you right now,
Thank
and
you.
I'm
Thank you.
also feeling some. So
Thank
thanks
you.
for sharing who you are and sharing your gifts.
Thank you.
And so now I'll turn it over to Tawanda to introduce herself. So.
My name is Tawanda Blackwell. I work at the Dairy Queen and get Kendall L and Candy Tay and Jill and Grace Doe. I like my job and I'm a K worker and I'm a K worker, and
Did everybody hear? Could everybody hear pretty good or?
I could hear her.
Okay, good,
That was
good.
great job. Thanks, Tawanda, for introducing. And I want to just share this as well. This was sent to me by Tawanda. She just recently got an award for being an ambassador of light for her work within her community, which is amazing. So I wanted to share that as well. So that you can see here we have some pretty incredibly skilled and panelists with such gifts that they're able to share within their community. And so next I'm gonna continue asking them to share more about their journeys. And so we'll just continue to go in our same order here. So Jenny, I'm hoping you can share a little bit about your journey to finding your job and what led you to that opportunity.
Sure. Thanks, Amy. So it started when I was a client at Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Office. So I went through the formal route and had a counselor through them and was there for about a year, and it wasn't clicking well. So I eventually found another counselor who connected me with Amy. Amy was my guide through the discovery process. And it was thoughtful questions from this lovely person whom I didn't know very well. And it was a journey. I can say that. I'd been doing some contract work on my own where I'd been spending a lot of time with my camera off, just doing a lot of web stuff. So having these deep conversations and thoughtful discussions with people that Amy knew that she thought I might want to connect with, it was great, but it was also a lot of introspection that I wasn't entirely comfortable with at the time, just because I didn't entirely know what a wonderful person Amy was and what she was actually doing through the process. She was helping me discover what my own gifts are so that I could share them more easily with other people. And through those process of meeting Amy's connections and making my own connections, she introduced me to Erin and Dorona at Citizen Advocacy. They were her friends, and I discovered that we had a lot of mutual friends. So it turned out to be a really wonderful job opportunity too.
Thanks, Ginia, for sharing about that. We here at Advancing Employment, and for those of you who are on who've been on webinars with Doug, know that how much we do advocate for customized employment, where we go through a process called the discovery method, and really getting to know people, understanding what their gifts and skills are, and really supporting them to find a job that's in line with who they are. And it was really fun to see that support Ginia to go through that process. And I encourage anyone who's who's been exploring customized employment or wanting to know more. I think sometimes it's a interesting piece to get that perspective from somebody who's gone through it, not just taken somebody. So Ginia is a great resource from that. I think skeptical about it at some points, and then kind of when we came to the end was like, oh, now I see this process. And so I think it's such a powerful tool to help people find jobs. And so I wanted to just make sure that we highlight the potential for customized employment and discovery for helping people find opportunities. And I think, Ginia, you shared with me, and you shared a little bit right now, just how the process of really looking at the gifts that you have and how powerful that is to be seen for your gifts and not focusing on those deficits, which I think is pretty cool. Jasmine, can you talk a little bit about how you landed into your career and as an entrepreneur and pursuing a lot of different things? Do you mind sharing a little bit about that journey to really find a place where you could utilize the gifts that you have?
Absolutely. So mine came from actually before I became an entrepreneur, I was working at the courthouse. And I think mine's kind of came from the lack of money that I was getting. I'm getting up every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going on someone else's clock, working really hard, and I wasn't really getting paid a lot for it. And I didn't like it. So I was doing it strictly because I had to, I needed it. But I really did not like it. So actually around COVID time, when the courthouse shut down, I was like, I got to figure out something, like what I'm good at, what I love to do. And I'm in Georgia, I'm in Atlanta. So this is like one of the music capitals. So I was like, I actually went to school specifically to learn how to be an audio engineer as an individual that's blind. And so with that, I just took it and I was like, I'm gonna profit off of this. So I started with the engineering, and then after the engineering, after I got that under my belt, I asked myself, what can I do to take my business a step further? So I wanted to basically provide a one-stop shop for any artist or anyone really, any artist that came across me. So I was able to produce their music, I was able to record, mix, master. And then if they have, usually an artist comes with a brand, like my brand is Blinded by Ambition. So I will be able to print their attire. So I just wanted to be a one-stop shop in the business that I was in. So I started the DTG part of my company. And for those who don't know what DTG is, it's direct to garment. So basically, instead of what they use for vinyl, we use ink. And I actually have some examples of my prints, a few of them, like 3. This is one. I think I got like 15 designs total. This is one. This is a hoodie. And then this one for my brand. Hopefully y'all can see that. And I'm actually wearing one of my shirts. This is my favorite. It says, "Try walking them out in my shoes." And it's a person walking with a cane. So I just wanted to provide a one-stop shop for anybody that came across me and for myself. What made me really get into engineering, I love it. I absolutely love music, all different types of music. And I love being able to help someone else get their music out there.
Thanks so much for sharing all that with us. And I also want to share, Jasmine, if it's okay with you, if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about Synergy Works. We have a good friend, some good friends of Advancing Employment Artie, who runs that, is the one who introduced us to Jasmine, and that's a great resource for entrepreneurship. So I don't know if Jasmine, you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about Synergy's work.
Oh my God, absolutely. Synergy's work is actually, if you have a disability and you want to be an entrepreneur, like definitely go to Synergy's work website and go to their learning hub. They give you a lot of tips. I actually did some of their videos for them. They give a lot of tips on how to become an entrepreneur. And you can actually sign up to take their courses. It's free. They have it I don't know how often they have it, but I think twice a year, I'm thinking. But Artie helped me. Basically, I would not have been able to start my DTG business as soon as I did without Synergy's work. They give you the tools, they introduce you, like the networking is crazy. The networking is crazy. They provide you so many opportunities and it's free. So all you have to do is sign up, and Artie is a really, really great person. They understand it, and like they have definitely been a blessing to my business. Definitely.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing that. I put into the chat the website for Synergy's works. You can find those resources. If anybody who's on the webinar today wants to be connected through myself, through Joseph, through Doug or Tracy, anybody on the Advancing Employment team, we're happy to make connections for you with Artie. She's been a great resource for us as we've been supporting people throughout the state. So, please you see that as a resource for those who may want to become an entrepreneur. So next, I'll turn it over to you, Tawanda, to share a little bit about your journey to get your job.
So she went to a job fair, and I'm going to get Freddie in to jump in, and she can tell us a little bit more about the job fair that she went to. And
we went to a job fair at the Dairy Queen. They was having a job fair one day, and somebody had told us, and so we went up there. We hadn't filled out no application for it. And so we told her what we wanted, and we asked her, did they have a job for janitorial? And they said, yeah, we need somebody for janitorial. And so they went on, did an interview on Tawanda, and they hired Tawanda. And then they said, well, we don't hire you. Now you got to fill out an application. And so I assisted her in filling out her application. And after we fill out the application, we had some more papers to fill out. And then they told Tawanda what she would be making and told her what she needed in order to start the work. They told her she was going to have some shoes and light pants and all that. And so, she was so excited about she had a job. She had got the job, and she had never put in an application. And the first time she went there, they hired her. And after that, they told her that she would start that Tuesday. So we went shopping that Saturday and got what she needed. And she started to work that Tuesday. And she's been there working ever since. She first started out with 2 days a week. And then they went to 5 days. They wanted her for 5 days. But now they'll cut it back to 3. But she loved her job. That's how she got her job there.
Wanda, how long have you been at your job?
She's been working ever since last year, July.
Great, and I think we heard also that you have since then have gotten to increase your amount of days, and you also shared when we were talking before how your supervisor, the owner of the Dairy Queen, really sees you as a valued member of staff person there, and increasing your hours and all those things. So it's very cool. And I think it's cool in the telling of it that, sometimes, we talk about so many different ways to find opportunities. And, our three panelists here shared very different journeys to finding their jobs. And sometimes, you can just go to a job fair or just address someone, or sometimes it's through networking and finding connections, and it's sometimes moving out of a job that doesn't find meaning and moving towards places that do find meaning. And so I appreciate all of your stories and the ways that all of them, being very unique, have led to great opportunities for all of you. So our next question for our panelists is, what do you love about your job? If you wouldn't mind sharing the things that you love about your job.
Should I go ahead? Okay. What I love most about my job, I tell people I get to bring all of myself to work. So if you know me, you know I've never met a stranger, you know I love to read, go to new places, meet new people, do new things. And at Citizen Advocacy, I get to do all of that and get paid really well for it, and work with really solid, thoughtful people. I'm learning a lot, and there's a lot about disability world and quotes that was new to me. My personal experience didn't cover that. So there is a lot of learning and a lot of waking up to what's not great in the world and what is great in the world, and what one person can do for another person to bring them into the wider community.
Mark, you want me to go?
Oh, I'm just gonna, before you go, Jasmine, I'm just gonna let everyone know that I put the link to Citizen Advocacy in the chat. Please take an opportunity to go and check out Citizen Advocacy. There's some offices throughout the state of Georgia, and I think it's such a this idea that having people that support us, that know us, that are friends with. Those are sometimes our greatest supporters, and people that can support us in advocating for ourselves. For me, I had the opportunity to be involved with Citizen Advocacy for a long time, and has really, for me, influenced the ways that I think about how to be in a relationship with other people. So I'm grateful for people like Ginia, who are really sharing some ideas around how we can be with people and support each other. And so I encourage you to look at that. And I think, Ginia, you had a hand in designing this new website, right?
I did indeed.
So you'll see that also, if you visit the website, what great gifts that Ginia has around some of that design and technology and those pieces that I know I don't have. So it's really cool to see. So
thanks.
Great. So Jasmine, we'll turn it over to you.
The best part about my job, I'm gonna be really honest, is that I do not have to leave my house. My studio is here. My studio's here, and my printing business is ran out of my home. So to me, that's the best part. My second favorite is I love music. Like I'm an artist. I'm an artist first, before anything, before engineering, before the printing, before anything. I'm an artist. So to connect with other artists and to see them basically do like I did and build from the ground up, like it's exciting when they release the music and you're listening to it and you're like, man, I helped them do that, you know. And I just love when my artists walk in and they're like, you're really gonna have to show me how you do this, and you can't see anything. So I love catching people off guard, and I just love seeing people win, really, and people, especially people around me, win. So to help somebody else build from the ground up like I did, I love that feeling.
Thanks so much for sharing that. And I think it's a cool part of your story that I'm hearing is going from a job that doesn't find meaning and really putting that energy into finding something that's more meaningful. It pays off, and it sounds like that you love your job a lot more now than you did when you were at the before
Yes, it was just, yes. Like, and you, like, when you dread going into work, like, it's just like the feeling was terrible. Like, you know what I'm saying? But it was something I had to do. And I felt like I spent most of my time traveling. I worked an hour away. So I had to get up at 6 in the morning, go to work. And by the time I'm getting off, I was just tired. So I didn't have any time to invest in myself. I didn't have, so I had to change. I had to change that.
Wanda, would you mind sharing with us what you love about your job?
I like working dairy queen, and but I like my co-worker,
Co-workers.
my co-working, and and my paycheck. And me preaching,
Meet new people, but mainly paycheck.
and my paycheck.
I think we're all chuckling because I think we all value getting our paychecks too.
Yes, absolutely.
You're getting some people in the chat, Tawanda, saying that they also love getting their paychecks, so that's a valuable part. But it's nice that you can like what you're doing and enjoy your coworkers and still do that too. I know for me, having meaningful relationships with people that I work for makes it a really a more worthwhile endeavor and opportunity. So that's cool to hear. Excuse me. So the next question I want to ask our panelists here is, on with us today on this call, and then we're also recording it, and people can look at it later, or people who may be themselves looking for jobs, maybe family members of somebody who's looking for a job. I also see on here there are people who work at different providers, people who work at for VR. So we have a diversity of people listening to the webinar today. So I would love to hear from our panelists here, kind of any advice you may have for people looking for jobs. That would be kind of part one to the question, and then part two to the question would be for anybody who supports people finding jobs, any advice that you would give to them. So Ginia, I'll let you start us off again.
For me, it helped when I was looking for a job to think about the experiences that I had where I was the most energized or the most interested, and to look at what there were similarities in those different positions, or when I felt particularly confident when I was asking people for jobs or asking for connections, to pay attention to what I was thinking or feeling, what my body was doing in that moment. Because that's how I learned that applying through online portals and filling out 20 applications a day, that's not how I personally shine. That's not how I'm going to make connections. But if I get in front of somebody and can have a conversation and meet them and see what the office environment is like, then it might turn into an opportunity either for volunteering or for internship or a real job. And I say real job just because I had a lot of poorly paid jobs that were stepping stones, that were meaningful connections, but not career material. And Amy's nodding because she's been on this journey with me. And figuring out the best way that I can work the system to my advantage. And for people who are supporting folks who are looking for jobs, as much as possible, explain why you're asking this question or what the process is in advance if you know it, and in the moment if you don't. There were a lot of times where systems speak, especially in Georgia VR, was genuinely baffling. Like I didn't know what words meant, and I had to ask my counselors to explain it a lot of times before I actually understood. And the process of listening and learning really helped to solidify the relationship between me and the counselor that led me to Amy, and the connection that worked.
Thank you, Ginia. Such great points that you share for sure. Jasmine, you're up next to share a little. What would you some advice you would give for people looking for opportunities, and then advice you would give to people who support those who are looking for opportunities?
For people who are looking for opportunities, really my only advice would be to, like, in just being honest, you're gonna get some no's, but I wouldn't give up, because there's as many no's as you're gonna get. It's gonna be somebody to say yes. So when you do step into that yes, I say just prove yourself. I think a lot of time when someone has a disability, right off rip, we're kind of looked at as, like, I don't know the word to use, but maybe a liability. So when you do get a yes, just step into the situation and show, like, me having a disability don't have nothing to do with, with me working. So that's the advice I can give as far as in looking. And if you have to settle for a job, let it be temporary. Like, find something you love to do. There will always be an avenue. There will always be an avenue. Whatever you love to do, if you love to paint, find an avenue to where you can get paid to paint, because it's out there. I promise it's out there. Just keep looking. And as far as people that's helping people find a job, all I can say is, like, again, synergies work. Like, they kind of go over and beyond. They do more of a deep dive. Like, they have a personal interview with you, asking questions. What do you want to do? What do you love to do? How can we help you? Rather than just putting somebody in a position, find out what they like to do, so that when they do get employed, that they stay there. Because it's hard out here for anybody to get a job. So it's definitely gonna be hard for someone who has a disability. So that's my advice.
Much, Jasmine, for sharing that. You're so right. What you were saying at the beginning about how sometimes employers will talk about liability first.
Yes.
That can sometimes be a barrier for people, even though that's most of the time not even true. And all the data out there doesn't show that people with disabilities present more of a liability
Right.
for organizations. So I think, trying to, continue to look for those who will support people, and also spreading the word about kind of truths around hiring people with disabilities. And that's a lot of what at Advancing Employment we try to support providers on and advocate for, of that how to support talking to employers about. We don't need to look at liability. We can look at people for their gifts and
Right.
hire people based on that. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Tawanda, you're up next. If you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about any advice that you have for people for looking for jobs, or for people who support others.
Looking for looking for tweets, looking for a job, and you got to go on the web, fair job.
Yeah, she's saying that you gotta let people know if you need help looking for jobs and go to job fairs. That's what she was saying. And just putting herself out there. Tawanda doesn't tell, she hasn't said that she's a strong self-advocate for herself. She will tell people what she wants. And if you don't ask, you never know. So
Yeah.
I think that's, and that's how Tawanda got her job, is she told us she wanted one. And so we said, okay, well, how can we help you to get one? So, I think that's kind of what she's saying, is you just got to go out there. And then the next part is, what advice do you have for a staff person that's trying to help somebody get a job? What would you tell them?
Go there. Fair job and really access paper.
So to help
And help.
help the people to fill out the applications, go to job fairs and stuff.
Yeah, help put in with application, get a job.
So just support you or whoever it is.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm hearing what you're saying, Tawanda, and also thinking to what Ginia was saying about how just going places and filling out applications, that's sometimes not the way that it works to find it, but really looking for connections and going to places and putting yourself out there are ways to find opportunity. And it's cool that that you got that's how you're able to find your opportunity, by just putting yourself out there, and all of our panelists here by just putting themselves out there and sharing who they are. I'm gonna invite Doug to come back on here. We've heard about different themes here. Some thoughts around customized employment, some entrepreneurship, different ways. And so, Doug, I'm hoping that you can just share a little bit about ways that advancing employment is kind of supporting and advocating for that. And I also, while you're sharing that, I'm going to invite people to put any questions they have into the chat. And so if you want to just talk just for a short little time, why people,
Sure.
yeah.
Well, first, I just want to say to Ginia and Tawanda and Jasmine, what a pleasure this has been. Rarely do you get on webinars where you feel moved. And I have felt moved by all three stories, and Amy, your expert facilitation. So thank you. Yeah, I think one thing that jumps out, and a couple of people have asked in chat, Amy, about discovery. And I know that can end up becoming just a term as well, but just briefly, it is a person-centered approach, self-directed, using evidence-based practices for a job search. And that can cut across the kind of work Jasmine does to Tawanda's and Ginia's, and of course, the hundreds of thousands of different ways that we earn livings in our culture. So the one thing I guess I would bring out for practitioners, and one of the questions is, discovery is an evidence-based practice. It's being tested in Spain in randomized controlled trials. It's been adopted in about 25 states. Of course, there's a big focus on that in recent grant submissions. But to just keep it in plain language, it means if you're doing it right, and you heard from these great folks that sometimes our systems help get it right, and then other times they had to let go of what wasn't working to move into much more person-centered approaches. But Amy and I have talked, and one of the things I'll just end with here is that these are different skill sets than what we're used to in provider agencies. And I think families and job seekers really respond to it. And so we're really thinking deeply about how to do some credentialing in 2023, focused functionally on discovery and customized job development. But this is the result of that, right? Somebody in each one of these folks' lives were doing the right things, being supportive, being person-centered, really considering the ideal conditions of success. So I've enjoyed it so much, Amy.
Thanks, Doug. And continue if you have any questions around customized support employment, how to utilize discovery, how to approach entrepreneurship or self-employment. Advancing Employment is doing a lot of work around the state and on those different topics. So please reach out to us, and we'd love to connect you to resources. If you're a provider, we have a community of practice that we do once a month to support providers and have speakers around these different topics. So please be in touch. Jasmine, there is a question for you in the chat here, and it says, how do we support your business?
I'm glad you asked. My website was supposed to be up this morning. It was supposed to be up this morning. The ball kind of got dropped, but if you reach out to me, you can email me or to my website, email me or reach out to me on like Instagram or Facebook, and I promise I will get you whatever you need.
And Jasmine, it's Doug. We'll also in our follow-up email, when your site's up and running, we can send that to folks as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jasmine, with your permission, I'll go ahead and paste your email address for people on, if that's okay.
Yes, please. Yes.
And Ginia, I want to ask a question to you as well, kind of similar to that of, what if someone knows of somebody that could utilize from having an advocate or somebody to support them, or somebody who's would love to learn more and be an advocate? Can you share a little bit more about ways that they could support citizen advocacy in the work that you do?
Sure. So the quickest answer and the most fun is a conversation. So it starts with an email to either Erin or me. So you're welcome to share my email here if you want to. And then we will have a coffee or have a Zoom meeting or whatever you want to do. And we will find out more about how you can support, how we can help you, what your story is. It's all conversations here.
And Ginia has also been doing some work with us at Advancing Employment on our Tell the Valued Story project as a way of supporting agencies and providers throughout the state to really think about the ways that their images and language in their marketing, what that tells. And so she's also available through Advancing Employment to provide support to different agencies who are looking at their marketing materials and ways to do that. So, please reach out to that if you'd like to do that. And I see Joseph put the Tell the Valued Story into the chat. So please take a look at that as well if you haven't heard about that. And then also for Tawanda, is in South Georgia, and so if anyone is driving through and wants to have a smiling greeting at Dairy Queen, I'm sure that she'd be excited to see some of you and have some conversation. And any other questions that anyone has for our panelists? I'd love to hear if you wouldn't mind, if anyone who's been on this has any thoughts about or things that inspired them by this. I'd love if you would either come on mute, off mute, and share, or type into the chat maybe a takeaway that you have from our panelists. I would love to hear if there's anything that kind of inspired you or any thoughts that came out from our conversation today. Great, and feel free, as Doug's going to kind of share with you the rest of our stuff coming up for our NDEAM, our October, where we're highlighting different things around employment. I'm going to turn it over to Doug, but please, I invite anyone who's on listening to please share something in the chat that felt that a thought or something that you heard today that felt something that you may take away from it. So Doug, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank everybody, not just our panelists, but there's been a lot of great comments and feedback for you all for our panelists in the chat. Just real quick, I don't know if Rory is still on, but Rory's a friend in Rhode Island, and most of you know that we've done quite I guess 2 or 3 webinars now with Rhode Island, and some of my favorite folks are there. So thanks, Rory, for joining. By the way, the practitioners of customized employment, job development, Rory did a great informational interview with a cranberry bog in Rhode Island. So you'll have to ask her about that. I just want to reiterate, the work that Artie does, and just the great supports we have for entrepreneurship. We have some GCDD folks on, and we anticipated that we would have more to do this month because of awareness. And I just got to thank Tiana and Star and others, Maria, for just really highlighting and amplifying National Disability Employment Awareness Month. But our Carter Center event is aimed at something, guys, on the 27th, 9:30 to noon. We had to do it on a very small budget, so we're limiting it to 50 people because of that. Again, if you are wanting to attend, please let Joseph know pretty quickly. We're going to hold on to some slots, and then probably early next week, fill the rest of the room up. So let us know. But my point there is, this can't just be a month, right? These three powerful people sharing their gifts and skills and interests, that's what make economies hum along. It's small businesses, it's individuals, it's not international Fortune 500 companies. We're made to believe that. I'm not saying that those are not necessary, but the American economic engine are individuals and local small businesses. So what we're wanting to do at the Carter Center event is a couple of things. Obviously, we're going to celebrate, recognize our partners, hopefully get some media attention to some of our policy imperatives. And to that point, GCDD did a great job of hosting a candidates forum, and both entrepreneurship and something known as state as model employer were addressed by several of the candidates, and that's a real win. And there's more to do. But the other thing we'll do at the Carter Center event, along with recognizing and celebrating, is take about an hour to create a blueprint for something called, as I mentioned, state as model employer, SAME, so that we can adopt that, so that state agencies in Georgia set hiring goals for folks with disabilities. That's really important. It certainly fits with the DEI equation, the graphic that the Office of Disability Employment Policy put together for NDEAM 2022. So we'll spend some time doing that. Just then to lead into that, next week is the theme of state as model employer. So we'll be sending some stuff out. Joseph will send stuff out. We encourage you to send us anything you would like that we can, again, amplify and disseminate. But we're going to be joined by the ADA coordinator in Louisiana, Ricky David. She's the sole person in that office, but she also knows a lot about Louisiana's path towards state as model employer, which was first an executive order and then legislation. So we're really excited to hear from Ricky. We'll have Cheryl Ann and hopefully Stacy, both from the state ADA coordinator's office here in Georgia. We're hoping to learn from what they're doing in Louisiana and really apply that here. So it's one of our policy imperatives, and we're serious about it. Well, let's just check chat, Amy. I think a few things have come in. Oh, just a note, next week's webinar is on the same day, but it starts at 3 instead of 2, just because of scheduling pieces. Lisa Cobb says, Jasmine really brought to light, sight and vision are two different things. When you have vision, you can see more than what's in front of you. Your vision makes your dreams come true. Beautifully said, Lisa.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Star said, yes, some of the candidates in our forum hit it out of the park and showed they really understood disability issues in Georgia. And Stacy Valerie Peace is from the state ADA coordinator's office is saying, thank you for sharing your stories and experiences. You're inspiring others to follow their dreams and talents and do what they love each and every day. Wonderful. Thank you, Stacy. And Cheryl Ann has just said, thank you to the panel discussion and to Amy. She says, I'm inspired and motivated to do more. Thank you all for sharing your stories. And Tiana from GCDD has echoed that as well. All right, Amy, I think we just have a couple minutes here. Anything else we want to cover?
I think that's good. I just, another big thank you to our panelists and for sharing your story. And, I think that and hear that genuineness. If anyone would like to reach out, learn more, please do and be in touch. So thanks
and
everyone
Joseph, wait, Amy, Joseph has put in chat, please fill out the survey. It keeps our funding flowing, so please do that. Fill out the survey, please. Doesn't take but a minute.